The demonstration that you're about to see was taken back in early 2015 by my son Yuan, who had his new Sony movie camera. It was taken the same time that the Taiji video and the staff video that I've already presented were taken. And this is me performing the second form of Northern Shaolin taught by Master Kuo Lien Ying in Portsmouth Square, Chuan. The importance of preserving this video and presenting this video and preserving this Northern Shaolin of Master Kuo is pretty important. Chuan was a favorite set of Sifu. He loved to, as you can see in the demonstration at Dawson Lee in 1966, it was one of the forms that he performed. And again, in many of the past videos on Portsmouth Square, you saw him gathering a group of the core students that study Chuan and always doing presentations and doing a group set. And whenever there was a performance, for example, at Bing's 10th anniversary, he had the core group of Chuan practitioners do a set for demonstration. So he had a particular fondness for this form in particular, and also just generally his Northern Shaolin, which is taught as part of his curriculum in Portsmouth Square. The importance of preserving this Northern Shaolin is that um, many of the lineage branches that came down from Sifu teaching as Guanping Tai Chi did not teach the Northern Shaolin. For example, Peter Guok had his own Shaolin that he taught, and David Chin did some sort of Tibetan Kung Fu that he combined with the Guanping. Um, YC Zhang did teach Sifu's Shaolin, both the Tan Tui and Chuan. He didn't teach the third form, Arlong, but his form is just slightly different. Not too much different. You can see the same form, basically. Henry Luke didn't study the Shaolin, and Martin Lee, some of the other teachers that taught specifically the Guanping version of Sifu's original Yang Tai Chi, didn't teach the Shaolin. So you could see that it was only like a fairly limited amount of people that he granted permission to teach that carried on the tradition of the Shaolin. Bing Gong had a large following, and he did teach many of his students the Northern Shaolin. And since there's not much material on this Northern Shaolin, I thought it was part of importance in this YouTube channel to preserve that legacy so that older practitioners who may have forgotten their form can watch these videos and relearn the forms that they originally learned. So that's one of my main emphasis on trying to preserve this form by Sifu Chuan. Chuan is the name of the general style and includes Tan Tui. I've already done lessons on the Tan Tui, which translates basically as springing legs. The the Tan Tui is the fundamental movements of the Chuan style. Chuan is a long fist style, which means that it's an extended style meant to be kept at a fighting distance that is long range, keep the opponent away. And from my research, what I found was both Tan Tui and Chuan were developed in northern China by the ethnic Muslim community uh, because they were on the frontier of Mongolia. Mongolians coming in to invade China had a basically a grappling in close fighting style. So the long distance, long fist style was developed to keep the opponent at distance and fighting from an outer perimeter. And so you'll see that many of the punches, the power is expressed on the furthest extension rather than Wing Chun, where you might have short, close-in fighting techniques. Um, the basic stances in the Northern Shaolin are the Northern Horse, which Sifu taught as knees in, kind of like a tree trunk where the roots grow out. And then this, call this the cat stance, high stance. And then like a crane stance here. And then the bow stance, which is kind of sometimes called the bow and arrow stance because it's the bow and this kick is the arrow. And also pretty typical of the long fist style are the straight leg kick and also like a jumping scissors kick. Um, and these are kind of like typical of a style. Eventually, when China decided to develop wushu, which is more a sport version of Chuan actually, um, they decided that because this was like a kind of a ethnic practice that was preserved in the northern regions of China, it was more an original form of kung fu. So, from what I read, that's one of the reasons why Chuan eventually evolved into a more flamboyant wushu style. Sifu's style of Chuan is different than other typical northern Chuan. And if you are a practitioner of Chuan, you'll see that the movements are similarity in some of the hand positions, blade hand, the beak hand, the crane stance. But typically, his style is less flashy. He, whether or not he took out the flashy moves or whether this is what he learned from his teacher Li Lin, we don't really know. Because at the time that we studied with Sifu, there was no internet and there was no way to really understand a lot of what we were doing. We just kind of like followed what Sifu taught us and then we just accepted that. In Sifu's version of the Chachuan, which is kind of a name for the entire style of long fist, we had the Tantui, and in Sifu's Tantui, we only did the 10 road version because there's a 12 road version as well. And again, this differs from the Tantui that is taught traditionally. Like when Adam Shu came, he taught a different, more traditional Tantui. But we weren't aware of it at that time. We just understood it as Tantui springy legs. And then he taught Chachuan, which is the second form, but Chachuan also refers to the general style as well. And then he taught a third form called Arlong, which has movements that are not included in the 10 road version of Tantui. People look at the flamboyant style of Chachuan and sometimes they kind of tend to relate it to the wushu and kind of think of it as kind of a dance. But hidden within the movements of Chachuan, because you have to kind of understand that a form, a dalu, fixed form of pre-rehearsed movements, is also to teach the fundamental of the stances. So a lot of times when you're holding a stance, it's to practice the balance. If you're holding a stance, like Sifu would have us hold these stances for a long time, is to develop your balance and leg strength. And so the form is more than just a way to practice function. It's a way to develop your balance and your athletic ability and your strength and understanding of the core fundamental movements. And so when people sometimes watch these kind of forums, they tend to, you always hear that they, well, would this work in mixed martial arts? That's not the purpose of the Dalu, the forum. The forum has a different purpose. But if you watch the movements and you have an understanding of martial arts principles, you'd be able to see the function. So I can kind of demonstrate a couple ones. For example, if you watch this movement here, it may look just like movement, but unless you understood what the function of that would be, then you maybe can't understand what all this slapping on the shoulder and this kind of movement is. My donkey in the morning. So from here, if you imagine somebody grabbing you on a shoulder like this, just capturing his grasp on your shoulder, and as you turn here, this arm is coming over his elbow, extended arm elbow, and it's like a joint lock and breaking the elbow, like here. This motion here is coming through and grabbing his elbow and then punching as you're pulling, like that. And then this would be like blocking a kick and covering, of course, like a roundhouse punch. So this movement here is what that is. So at some point when I'm going through, and I do plan to teach this Chuan form, the second form of Master Kuo's Northern Shaolin, in the near future. And so I'm doing this presentation of me doing the performance so that you can see what the entire form looks like. Also, the style of the Northern Shaolin is a pretty strenuous form. It was meant for developing young people as they came into the martial arts, and is not really a form developed for old people. So if you're a Tai Chi practitioner and you only do Tai Chi, then you probably can't relate to this. But again, it is something that you can do as an older person. And again, the film was taken when I was 69. That was like 9 years ago. So I was still pretty agile. And one of my goals is to be able to perform the Northern Shaolin into my 80s. And that's not too far off. And so probably for upcoming my birthday in a few weeks, I'll do a set of Chuan, at my age 78, so you can see, how I've been able to keep up performing this. Of course, I've been doing this for many, many, many years. So I'm trying to keep my agility by preserving and doing this form. But it is something that you can modify so that your stances are not, as low. And again, one of the things that's characteristic about the long fists and Chachuan style is kind of the high stance into the low positions and coming up. Again, long distance fighting means that you're kind of moving around a lot, and so there's a lot of movement in this form. So I'm just kind of giving you kind of a general description of what this style is about, so that as you watch the performance, you can kind of understand a little bit better and enjoy it. And you might want to replay it a couple of times to see what I'm talking about in terms of all this information that I'm giving you. If you just watch the forum without all this information, then it might be a little bit harder to understand, and you might just kind of pigeonhole it as kind of a wushu or a dance. But underneath all this is a lot of power. For example, this movement here, although in the form, again, in Presenting a dalu, a fixed form, it is choreographed so that you have some aesthetics to it. But looking at this movement here, looks like it's just, again, a dance movement. But if you understand that it could be like trapping and a punch coming over, then you might be able to see this as like that. Then you can be more open-minded when you view this performance and understand that every move has some function to it. So, okay, enjoy the performance.